May 8, 1945, 3 p.m. British time. Winston Churchill's voice cuts through the radio static. Hostilities will end officially at 1 minute after midnight tonight. The war in Europe is over. After 6 long, horrifying years, Nazi Germany has surrendered unconditionally to the Allies. Across Britain, France, the United States, and the Soviet Union, bells ring and tears fall. Flags are raised, guns are lowered. But what exactly happened in the first 24 hours after World War II ended in Europe? It wasn't just celebration. It was chaos. It was confusion. It was relief and grief. Some people partied in the streets. Others wept in ruins. And for millions, the nightmare wasn't over. This is what really happened, minute by minute, city by city, in the first day of a world at peace and a new world being born. Act 1 to 3 p.m., May 8, 1945. The word goes out. At precisely 3 p.m. in London, Prime Minister Winston Churchill speaks live to the British public. In Germany, the war's at an end. Advance Britannia. Long live the cause of freedom. Outside 10 Downing Street, thousands cheer. Champagne bottles pop. Crowds surge through Piccadilly Circus, Trafalgar Square, and the Mall. King George VI will soon speak from Buckingham Palace's balcony. Beside him, Princesses Elizabeth and Margaret, young royals allowed to sneak out later that night and walk anonymously among the celebrating crowd. Across the ocean, it's still early morning. In the United States, President Harry Truman, just weeks into office after Roosevelt's sudden death, addresses the nation from the White House. He calls it both a victory and a responsibility. This is a solemn occasion. It is the victory of good over evil, the victory of democracy over tyranny. He declares May 8th, 50 Years E-Day, Victory in Europe Day. Spontaneous parades erupt across New York, Chicago, and San Francisco. Confetti rains down in Times Square. Horns honk. Soldiers kiss nurses. Office workers ditch their desks. But not everyone celebrates. In the Pacific, U.S. soldiers fight tooth and nail in the Battle of Okinawa. For them, VE Day is just a headline. Act 2 in the ruins of Germany, silence, hunger, surrender. In Berlin, the atmosphere is starkly different. The once mighty German capital is now a shattered shell. More than 100,000 civilians have died in the last few weeks alone. There are no parades, no music, no smiling crowds. People hide in cellars. Soldiers strip off uniforms to avoid capture. The city is divided between occupying forces, the Americans in the West, the Soviets in the East. What the Germans call Stunde Null, 0 hour, has arrived. Millions of German troops begin surrendering across Europe, on roads and forests, in towns. Columns of exhausted Wehrmacht and SS soldiers lay down their arms, some weeping, others in stunned silence. Civilians, too, begin to emerge from hiding. But there's no food. Infrastructure is destroyed. Trains barely run. Hospitals are overwhelmed. Women search for children. Fathers return to find rubble. Nazi flags are burned or quickly hidden. A CT3, the East, a different victory. While Western Europe celebrates, the Soviet Union remains mostly silent. For them, Victory Day will be May 9th. Why? Because the final surrender document was signed in Berlin, deep in Soviet-held territory, just after midnight, Moscow time. Stalin insisted on a separate ceremony, not satisfied with the earlier one in Reims, France. At 1 a.m. on May 9th, the German High Command signs again, this time in front of Soviet General Georgy Zhukov. In Moscow, Stalin appears on the radio, praising the Red Army and the resistance of the Soviet people. That night, 1,000 artillery guns fire 30 volleys. Fireworks light the sky. Red banners fly high. But in Eastern Europe, not everyone sees this as liberation. In Poland, Czechoslovakia, and the Baltics, fears rise. Many understand that Nazi occupation may be replaced by Soviet control. Act 4, Concentration Camps and Chaos. Narrator, as celebrations unfold, the Allied forces continue uncovering the horrors of the Holocaust. Only days before VE Day, American soldiers entered Dachau. The British liberated Bergen-Belsen in April. The Soviets had seen Auschwitz in January. Now the news spreads. Images of skeletal survivors and mass graves flash in newspapers and newsreels. For many civilians in the West, it's the first visual confirmation of genocide. But even in liberation, suffering continues. Inmates are too weak to move. Some die from overeating food they haven't digested in months. The Allies rush in medical teams, but resources are limited. Jewish survivors often have no homes to return to. Their families are gone. Anti-Semitism still lingers in many areas. Some are attacked on return. Thousands remain in displaced persons camps, where they wait, for months, even years. A CT5, The Aftermath, A New World Begins. May 9th, 1945. The sun rises over a broken world. The Allies begin carving up Germany into 4 occupation zones. The seeds of the Cold War are already sprouting. Tensions simmer between the Western powers and Stalin. In France, Italy, and the Netherlands, accusations fly. Women accused of sleeping with German soldiers have their heads shaved in public. Collaborators are arrested, or worse. Millions of refugees, Germans, Poles, Ukrainians, French, Italians, wander across war-ravaged Europe. Roads are packed with ox carts, bicycles, wagons. Families are torn apart, reunited, then lost again. The United Nations is already forming. Plans for the Nuremberg trials are underway. In Japan, leaders hear of Germany's fall and prepare for what they know is coming. The war isn't over. The atomic bomb is just 3 months away. ACT6 Reflection, A Moment in Time. The first 24 hours after the end of World War II in Europe were filled with contradictions. Joy and mourning, justice and vengeance, liberation and occupation. Some danced, some wandered, some simply stood still. One war had ended, but the cost was staggering: over 70 million people dead, cities obliterated, borders redrawn forever, and trauma that would echo for generations. As May 9th drew to a close, one thing was clear: the world had won the war, but peace was going to be a much harder battle. History doesn't end when the guns fall silent. It only turns the page. If this story moved you or helped you understand this moment better, consider liking the video and subscribing for more deep dive documentaries. Drop a comment below. What would you have done in those first 24 hours? And where do you think the real end of the war truly was? See you in the next one.